Hey everybody, welcome back to your free TV. It is Monday, March 9th, 2026. Wow, what a day, what a few days. And we have Trump winning the peace here. And we're going to get into what's going on with Iran. Trump's announcement today of winding down the war. Israel exposed for hitting infrastructure and the oil fields, really putting a giant stop to where Trump's heading with this war, plus so much more. So I'll jump in with my disclaimer. Oh, actually, first, I'll start by saying thank you so much to everybody supporting the channel. I want to say thank you so much to Thumper. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marcia. And thank you, Wolfmother. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the channel, everyone supporting monthly. You make it happen, and I am so, so grateful. Thank you. And so my disclaimer, let's jump in there. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. Okay, so let's drill in here to what's going on and how Trump is winning the peace. So we have, of course, today Trump coming out with a huge press conference, basically saying that in his mind, he is winding down the war. We have the Straits of Hormuz open, okay? And with this announcement at the press conference today and signaling throughout the day, you've seen already the oil prices going back down. I believe it was at $88 a barrel by the time I've been doing this video tonight. Already we're going to see those prices coming down. And before I jump in here with all the details, I'll just say this is huge time for prayer. Huge time for prayer for everybody, all of us, right? It's our job. We are the prayer warriors here. And basically for huge discernment for Trump, but also that the forces that be here, the Save America forces, are able to stop any false flags that could be coming, whether it's in the Straits of Hormuz, massive assaults on civilian targets in Iran. And of course, I'm basically talking here about Israel, but also the globalist cartel Babylon that behind the scenes actually control Iran. And this is where people get caught up, believing that Iran is solely a Shiite country intent on killing, destroying the big and little Satan. How that was so created, of course, by CIA, Rothschild banksters, you know, the banks of London, the royals, the cartel, okay, CIA, Mossad, etc. Of course, started before they installed the Shah with the taking out of the true real president of Iran way back in the day, but then the Shah in '79. And we're going to get into that with what, again, we can use as a great true north here as we're discerning what's going on. Promethean action, Promethean updates, I will link below their most recent video. Again, just hitting it out of the park, really describing who's in control behind the scenes here with Iran. Because we think of it just as the crazy Islamic regime and that the people are all behind it and everybody's freaking out and Trump's lost his mind, he's crazy. And no, couldn't be further from the truth. And what Trump came out in his press conference today, maybe I'll jump into that now before I get back into all the points that connect the dots here. But let's get to the press conference first. And I will point out here that Trump did talk to Putin today as well before this press conference. So a lot going on behind the scenes. Trump kept that very close to the vest, not saying much of what they talked about except Ukraine, obviously, but so much else is going on besides. And what we have here is, of course, Trump is dialing this back and down before Ukraine jumps in here, which is, of course, the globalists wanting this, the UK, the EU wanting Ukraine to get their drone technology into this war in Iran. Trump dialing this back, basically no need for that, and not wanting Ukraine involved in any way here in this operation, Epic Fury, right? And so let's get to the press conference. So let's look at this. We have okay, the press conference. Let me start here at the beginning. There's so much, and it's very exciting. and it's awful. We can't stand. We're praying for Trump's discernment. We're praying to stop false flags, and we're praying against Cartel Babylon, and of course the safety and of the Iranian people and everybody. People need to remember the Iranian people have been extremely under duress for a very long, for the last long time, obviously, but in the Biden years and the total rogue government that was allowed to continue with the IRGC becoming increasingly more powerful as oligarchs in Iran, um, uh, creating massive farmland destruction, basically stealing all the water, massive drought, the people hugely against the regime. And that doesn't mean that all the Shiite crazies, don't believe in their extreme Islam. That doesn't mean that. It means that whether it was 30,000 people killed for protesting what was happening to them in the destruction of their centuries-old way of life, or just the total deprivation going on, it means that the massive hype about the Iranians as a people being massively Shiite crazies wanting to destroy America and the West. No, this is the globalists that put them into power, controlling Iran all these years. It is why Trump keeps saying this is 47 years coming to an end, and he is the 47th president, right? And so 1979, the overthrow of the Shah, the installation of the Ayatollah. And that was to basically have the Ayatollah come out, stop what the Shah was doing. The Shah was still a puppet of the West. And they thought by modernizing Iran to a certain extent and, making it this puppet of the UK would allow it to for them to control it. But it was making the Persians too happy, giving them too much wealth and success. And he was starting up something like 30 nuclear power plants for energy in the country and using the oil revenues to help the people modernize the country. That was getting too far. They took down the Shah and they put in the Ayatollah for extreme evil. Okay. And the Shah basically killed all those programs of energy. And it's just the same playbook they're doing against the US. They installed the Shah, installed the Shah, but then installed the Ayatollah in 79 in order to have this energy war and deplete the USA, create these Middle East wars, create extreme Islam, and it all comes down to energy all the time, and the oil wars that have been destroying our infrastructure then led to their climate energy war. It's always about energy, and at the smallest level or the largest level, it gets to our human energy and us as the batteries and resources for it all. Of course, for their satanic control, gets into the energetic of their social engineering programs and the climate garbage and all of that. But in this press conference today, we get Trump coming out and saying 9 days in, we have the Iranian military, the military objectives in Iran nearly complete. And this is the key here when he's talking about military objectives. And what Israel did over the weekend, especially on Saturday night, was go in a bridge too far, defying U.S. military plans and without knowledge of the U.S. military and against what the U.S. military was willing to have happen, went in attacking Iran's oil fields, infrastructure, all of this, okay, and also doing massive bombing on Tehran and killing civilians, hitting neighborhoods, doing all of this. And that caused Trump to basically dial back very quickly because this is military targets versus what Bradley Thayer would call, and I'll see if I can link him below, but did a great job describing this on War Room earlier. Trump was very adamant about not hitting what they call counter value targets. Counter value targets. That's the infrastructure that allows the Iranian people to continue to thrive with the oil production and their infrastructure for their grid systems, their neighborhoods, all of this. And that is what Israel went after, and this is what Trump has said, okay, we're done. No regime change. This isn't happening. Yes, we really need somebody who comes in to be cooperative with the USA instead of the CIA, Mossad, bankster elite out of the city of London and the Rothschilds. Okay, this is what we need in the royals. We need somebody who is going to break this 47-year cycle that we've been under, and this is what he said so clearly. And so basically, they had been hitting the military targets hugely and profoundly, and that this is, I'll describe more about what Trump said about this. Basically, he said that so we've hit the military targets here. It's nearly complete. We have basically destroyed the navy of Iran, and think again, the Ayatollah IRGC regime controlled by the puppet masters of Cartel Babylon. We have 51 ships sunk, okay, of their navy, and today we've been massively hitting the drones manufacturing sites. Okay, this gets into the Shahed drone systems that are very advanced, but basically they've been able to locate and destroy a huge amount of those sites. He said, plus we've been able to, the manufacturing sites, but also hit the drones themselves. They're down to about 25% capacity of drones. And again, I'll point out Ukraine here because I do not believe for a second that Ukraine is coming in to aid the USA in this drone situation. Quite the opposite. But anyway, again, talk about more false flags, more Mossad and intelligence cartel Babylon run hits to execute this World War III that they want, right? And so then we get basically, he said we also have their missile launchers down to 10% still left of their missile launch systems. What Trump described was, and what they have in Iran is that they have them their missiles so expertly put basically to just rise up their launchers out of the desert floor, right out of the dust, and shoot missiles. And as that was happening, they were able to sight them, find them, and hit them. And Trump actually even said this, that we were hitting them with lasers, okay, to not deplete our missiles, and basically using directed energy weapons, lasers, to destroy these missile site targets. These launcher targets. And he said basically now they are about down to about 10% of those left. And then what Trump said is that we want to negotiate on the remaining targets, okay, and basically draw this down now, that with the Strait of Hormuz open, okay, and with Trump saying we are now ensuring, okay, the ships to be able to go through the Straits of Hormuz. Again, as I said in my last video, in Promethean action so well, the Lloyds of London, insurers taken down, controlling maritime commerce here for hundreds of years. Lloyds of London connected to the Royals in the UK and of course Europe, and this is the Rothschild bankers in the Quds Bank in out of England, and this gets into taking that capacity away. Okay, taking that capacity for them to control financially how energy will be moving across the world with this insurance. And Trump came out and said, we are now offering political risk insurance to the oil tankers, etc. And if need be, we will go through and escort ships through the Straits of Hormuz. And he said, basically, we have the best mine detection systems, mine sweeping abilities to be able to take out the mines that are already embedded here in the Straits of Hormuz. Again, surrounded by mountains, huge, huge stuff. So when we're hearing things like, oh, they're going to go and take the Kark Island, where all the massive Iranian shipping of oil happens, or they're going to just go in and try to hundreds of thousands of soldiers to go in and control the Straits of Hormuz surrounded by mountains. That's not happening. Okay, that is not the thing. What Trump is saying is that we have targets that are huge. And we are here saying, keep the Straits of Hormuz open. We're not looking for a regime change. We want the Straits of Hormuz open, to commerce to continue, energy flow to continue, and then we can negotiate basically with somebody who is in charge in Iran to be um, uh, uh, bringing in peace and prosperity, and in which case we will absolutely contribute to help the Iranian people through this time. And so it's all very interesting here. As per usual, we had Israel, Mossad go in, assassinate the team that was negotiating with the USA in Iran before these strikes happened. And what did Trump say? He said, we had to go in because we believed they were going to hit us or hit our allies in the Middle East. And what's interesting to note here is multiple things. One is the situation, of course, the awful and evil hitting of the school that was located right next to the base in Iran, where supposedly 150 schoolgirls were blown up. And that's disgusting and evil and awful. What Trump said in his press conference is that we don't know that that was the US. People keep saying it's a Tomahawk missile that hit this, was supposedly aiming for the base. Again, just as Israel does, the strategic placing of schools and hospitals next to military installations. And he said many countries have Tomahawk missiles. He didn't come out and say Israel. Little bit implied here with what he's doing here to retaliate against Israel's rogue attacks on Saturday night. But he said many nations have those Tomahawks. So we are trying to isolate and find out where that missile came from. And that he said he will be honest with what the military finds conclusively about that. And so that being said, we also have to look at of yes, the false flags, the possibilities, and Trump saying, keep the Straits of Hormuz open, no regime change. And this is what you're going to hear your Levins and your Tom Cottons, your Lindsey Grahams all over Fox News. Everybody's going to be hair on fire, Josh Hammer, all of these people. We've gotten this far. We can do it all. We can take them down. What did Trump say in his press conference today? He said, we only want somebody internal. And everybody's been up in Trump's grill about, this isn't Venezuela. This isn't, Delcy Rodriguez Mullah that we're going to put in there in Iran who's going to cooperate. And basically saying Trump's so stupid. He's just such an arrogant, egotistical narcissist that he thinks he's on a roll and he can do it all. No, that's not what's happening. There's a much larger thing going on here, and we've seen it with the massive, huge turnaround with what is going on with the strikes on the desalination plants in Qatar and Bahrain. We saw the taking out of the CIA with specificity, headquarters there in Bahrain by Iranian drones. We're seeing all of this play where in the Middle East, these countries that are agreeing to align for a shift out of the Cartel Babylon bankster control system, where we're looking at how do we create peace and stability and get rid of this ongoing boogeyman of the Iranian Ayatollah regime. Will it work? Will there be a leader that will be acceptable? Trump saying very clearly, we need this to be an internal leader. We need a leader out of Iran. We don't want to impose regime change and put external in. He said what happens then is, you get just the same old thing of the people aren't in charge of their own country, and it becomes one of these proxy puppet states. Those are my words, not his. That's what he was saying in the words that he did use. And so basically said, these remaining targets that we could hit hard, this gets into the internal targets. He said we've decimated the Air Force, we've hit all the military strikes of the IRGC, Ayatollah's control, that as puppets of the Cartel Babylon. Okay, he's ending what is this control grid. And so he's saying if they stop the Hormuz oil delivery, okay, or attack our ships if we need to be in there for protection. If anything like that happens, we will hit hard, okay? Right now, we're in negotiations again. This is about seeing what can happen here in this time period. And so, very, very incredible and exciting for us all to see what is going on. So, um, I don't know if I could go on and on about the press conference because it was so fantastic. But basically, he said, you know, he pointed out that the son of the Shah is not a good candidate to go in there. Obviously, 47 years. They don't want another puppet of the UK banksters in there. And we saw Trump very much give the total red light to Keir Starmer, who's super nervous. He's not long for leading the UK for much longer. By the way, folks, this doesn't mean that Islamism isn't extremely real and extremely potent and taking over and destroying our communities. That's an aside, that's absolutely real. But this situation is about taking out the bankster elite, controlling these people, controlling what's happening through Iran as a terrorist regime. Um, and, uh, and so, okay. So moving on from there, he said the son of the Shah is not a desired replacement. We want an internal person to head Iran who will cooperate with the USA. And so we don't know the full behind the scenes situation at this moment with who that could be, but basically what Trump was saying and why I got into who hit the girls' school is Trump saying, and we have the Axios leaks also coming out, as they always go through Axios from the Pentagon, right? Of DNI Gabbard's report out of national intelligence saying, that that Iran, that we can't win this giant, big, huge war with Iran. Like we can't have a regime change war. People saying that Trump denied that, just didn't pay attention to it. No, he paid attention to it. They know what they're doing here, and basically also going back to what I was saying is that sorry, I got distracted here for a second. Basically, that Trump is saying they were going to hit us or our allies, okay? And what I think that Trump knows behind the scenes is not that necessarily Iran is doing it. It is, again, we need to understand this globalist IRGC oligarchs, just like the Ukrainian oligarchs, okay? Just like all of these oligarchs across the world allied through the Council on Foreign Relations, through the Atlantic Council, right? And Victor Pinchuk out of CFR, right? Funding all of this as an oligarch, right? All of these oligarchs that just happen to most of them be also dual Israeli citizens, funding all of this for the bankster elite. They want the World War III, and they want Russia and the USA to fall, and they want to be able to control China to a certain degree to do their will. And Trump kept saying, if we keep the Straits of Hormuz open, we will have a great relationship with China. This is also for China to keep trading its energy, to keep getting its energy that it needs. And let's pay attention to the fact that we had the president of Azerbaijan, right, come out and congratulate the new son of the Shah, the son of the Ayatollah Khamenei, the 56-year-old who last week we heard he was dead and it was going to be the grandson, right? like several days ago, it was like he's dead too. His whole family's dead, and supposedly his wife and parents and son are dead. It makes me wonder: are they dead? Are they dead, or where are they? Do we know? I don't know. That the Ayatollah's son, now up there as being the next elected, Ayatollah, and we get Azerbaijan, who supposedly Iran went and destroyed those pipelines in Azerbaijan going to Israel, destroying 30% of their energy. And again, that having a lot to do probably with Israel coming back and hitting the oil fields and refineries really hard in Iran as payback. But Azerbaijani POTUS didn't seem to mind because he congratulated Iran in their new leader, et cetera, et cetera. So this is all very interesting. So they had information that Iran was going to hit somebody, and we know they've been trying to kick off World War III. So whatever this hit was going to be, could it have been a nuclear hit? Could this have been the ultimate World War III false flag to absolutely ignite World War and massive, huge U.S. involvement? This is at the base level the attempt to destroy the economic revival and restructuring of the United States of America, and of course, energy independence and energy thriving. The other things that I will probably have to save for tomorrow, and why I put the UFOs in the thumbnail, is there's also this huge war, of course, not just about AI, but about next level energy, next level intelligence. And what's kind of dropped off the radar here for about 5 years, we were talking about a lot back then, is quantum AI, and quantum becoming a huge deal in what is next generation warfare. We just saw General McCaslin disappear. His wife saying, I think he might have gotten zoomed up by the aliens. Literally, she's saying that as he disappears out of nowhere in New Mexico last week. And he is in charge of everything to do secret space program and development of secret space UFO type technology. And we have, of course, all of the people working in fusion physics out of MIT. Herrera, I believe, was his name, assassinated. We're seeing, just like before the pandemic, all of those microbiologists and virologists who were murdered, right? 100 plus, it was like 150. Okay, the ones that probably wouldn't cooperate with the Epstein Cartel Babylon regime of the pandemic genocide. And now we're seeing sort of this killing off of, or disappearance, possibly into protection, of multiple people involved in either nuclear fusion or quantum computing or 0 point energy, all this stuff that's next level freedom for humanity versus total control of humanity. And when we get into quantum AI, we get into agentic AI. And this is where AI is now in charge. This isn't about machine learning. This isn't about crunching data to learn. This is about an AI through quantum that is able to be in real time conversation with whoever is accessing it. And this is a huge battle that's on top of everything else right now. And taking care of this, and whatever that intelligence was about Iran's going to hit us or somebody, I believe, was to quash a very large attack that was planned as a false flag for entertainment purposes only, to create a massive war. And so here we are. Okay, here we are. And so as we continue here and try to discern what is going on, and we have 8 military soldiers who paid the price of their lives in doing this operation in Iran. We pray for their souls and their families, and we thank them very much for their service and their desire to fight for America and a free America. And that is the oath and the commitment of the soldier. And this is where we get into, and we mourn, and we're sad. We're absolutely sad. We're horrified at the murder of those 150 girls and everybody killed in those Israeli attacks on human infrastructure. Okay, sick, evil. And this is preempting something much larger. And this is where we get into our discernment versus compassion. We can hold both at the same time, where we are praying for peace and also for stopping Cartel Babylon. We are at a war against a massive global elite intent on enslaving humanity through a massive AI infrastructure. And so this is a battle that we are at the crux of. We're like at this Rubicon moment. And so we need to keep our heads on straight and our hearts open and really attuned to God and super involved in prayer. It is so, so important. So let's go on with a few more of these details. And so Trump laying down the gauntlet here that basically, don't close the Strait of Hormuz, Don't hit us that way. Otherwise, we'll come back to hit you really hard and then really stop the country with your infrastructure. And so we're going to see how this goes. We're praying, praying, praying about it very much. And so, I remember somebody said Israel last, right? Okay, Israel is last. So basically, shift out of the unconditional surrender position that Trump was in into negotiations, into don't block the Strait of Hormuz, get us a leader that we can cooperate with, and we have the Iranian people. That there's so much propaganda out there that it's all they're all just backing the new mullah and all of that. The new descendant of Muhammad or whatever, if that's even a real thing. Okay, is it a real thing? I can't prove that it's a real thing. And I honestly, really don't care, right? Because this political system of not just the red-green alliance, but the red-blue-green alliance, that really is just three aspects of the cartel Babylon puppet strings, is what we're dealing with the larger picture in this Abrahamic supposed Chrislam creation that they want versus the new covenant that we believe in. And so there is this situation that probably the scariest thing that could happen that would drive everyone mental and create a massive, massive war with possible nuclear threats is if Israel, as a false flag for entertainment purposes only, blows up the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? This would be it. We know Tel Aviv's been hit enormously. We know that only Jews are allowed into the bunkers that protect people, and we're not getting the video coverage of what's going on in Tel Aviv. And we got signaling that Trump asked for 2 ceasefires since this has begun, these 9 days, and Iran has ignored this, largely because they're being assassinated constantly by Mossad and the other intelligence involved. And so we get this situation of if Iran keeps pummeling Israel, and if Israel retaliates with this massive blowing up of the mosque, and this whole gets into the super Zionist crazy town of the third temple, and let's push, it's satanic. It is the satanic trying just like Satan and Lucifer take over God's plan, thinking they can control what's going on here, and they don't believe in God, and they are satanic. And so harnessing that power of Satan through massive committing of sin, through Cartel Babylon finance, which is the economy of sin, the trafficking, all of it. Let's remember Barack Obama, as the first Muslim president, brought in the Muslim Brotherhood, brought in Muslims across our government en masse in the tens and tens of thousands, and brought Muslim Brotherhood infrastructure massively into the United States to prepare for this moment. Biden, of course, the millions and millions of Muslims into the country and into and across Europe, ripe for false flags. We're seeing this kind of thing with what happened in New York over the weekend on Saturday as well, with the Jake Lang's Crusaders and all that baloney. Anybody who would trust that guy for even a second, don't. Okay, this is a ridiculous scenario of Jake Lang, and then there was the IEDs thrown in, and Zoran Mamdani, whose wife just happens to also, his mother happens to be in these pictures with Epstein, out of the Epstein files. These people are all interconnected. And I don't know Jake Lang's business if he's not just a super controlled idiot. Certainly not anybody with the brain cells that we should pay attention to. And this is just super ripe for creating these false flags, for creating, this let's try to engage the maybe less intelligent white men to get up in arms about Islam in the wrong way. Let's do it the way we're doing it. We're fighting it at the box office, the polls and the voter box. And so what do we have that Trump also said before this press conference today? Maybe I'll pivot to that for a moment, even though there's so much more to hit, like the charlatans and liars of Israel being exposed for what they did over the weekend, and Trump laying down the gauntlet and shutting down this regime change, is we see that Trump also was at the Congressional Institute, GOP, the GOP conference today there at Doral in Florida before the press conference. And he's there with all the Congress, GOP, and his huge focus with the biggest point was we must pass the Save America Act. And it got very low applause from our disgusting, feckless, evil Congress. Um, and and he's basically saying, hey, are you going to negate 98% of Republicans and 86% of Democrats who want the Save America Act, who want ID voting, who want to stem the mail-in ballots and want to prove people are U.S. citizens to vote? This is a 92% average, and we have our disgusting Senate who won't pass it, right? And so we need to take action. That is our job. Trump can't do everything, especially when we have a disgusting, awful Congress and Senate. And so we have to do it. We have to make the calls. 202-224-3121 for your senator. Okay, billblasterapp.org if you want to hit him up on social or email. Or 202-224-2321 for John Thune, okay, who's busy saving ducks and doing all these other things. Meanwhile, Trump calling for the end of the filibuster again, and I get it, but I say, let's have the filibuster. Let's have somebody get up there from the Democrats for 25 hours, okay, and explain to the American people on C-SPAN, 92% want the Save America Act. Explain to them why you don't want people to have to prove that they're American citizens to vote, that they have to vote with their IDs. Explain that, okay? Explain that to them, right? And so Trump basically saying, we need this to happen, and it's the most important thing and the simplest doy thing that is anybody to understand about if we're going to. And Trump also pointed out what's so crazy that this isn't happening is that it would literally end Democrat rule or to be able to get the presidency and the administration for 50 years because people are against it. They are against what the Democrats have done and are doing, and it's getting out in more and more and more. The timing of the release of the Epstein files, the exposure of Cartel Babylon, people awakening, the painful witnessing that we're having of the awakening for people to see this level of evil, and it's changing their minds and their hearts. And we pray for everyone who's learning about this information for the first time. Prayers are so paramount because the social engineering is relentless, and we have to pray. Our heart resonance and God being able to access us, to push us for good, to use us for good, it comes through prayer and awareness. You have to take the time and the dedication to pray every day, many times a day. This is something you can do. You have to slow down for a minute. I know I'm talking fast in this video, but you have to slow down in your days and pray. The morning is a great time. The nighttime is a great time. Pausing in between your tasks is a great time. And it also is extremely rejuvenating and centers you and brings you back to your absolute center, your telic center. It brings you connected to that thing they're trying to cut us off from in this surveillance digital grid, this 5G, 6G grid, to try to disconnect us in the shots and et cetera, disconnecting us from God. Every time you pray, you're rewiring your brain back to its original God state. You are bringing back your original cellular construction. These things are powerful. We are energy, which is why the globalists, Cartel Babylon, is trying to control every aspect of energy and has from thousands of years, okay? And the occult movement, the Luciferian movement, is all about this control and mastering of using energy to defeat their people they want to control. Okay, so we're at 40 minutes. Take the action, make the call. We need the Save America Act right now. Okay, and so there's so much else I could say, but I'm trying to keep these videos sort of so you can focus on what I'm talking about in the videos, rather than get them too much at once. So I think I am going to leave it there. I will link below the incredible Promethean update from a day ago. Fantastic. Again, you can use this Promethean updates on YouTube, that channel, as a true north here in helping you to orient when you're triggered, hair on fire. Emotionally, we care about everything going on, but there has to be discernment. There has to be historical context. We have to understand we're already at war. People are dying constantly. America has been dying. They want this, and they intended to have it be the thing that would destabilize and destroy Trump's economic recovery for America. And yes, here we are with these oil prices and these gas prices going up 50 cents. Okay, it's almost over, or we hope, and that's why we pray to stop the false flags, and we continue on, because this is our chance, our shot, and we have to shields up, God's full armor, moving forward towards the evil with full faith. Okay, full faith and conviction that this is what we're here to do. So do your part. Get involved locally. That is so vital and important. Local action. You're worried about Islam in the United States, your local town is the problem. Okay, the people taking over your town council, your board of education, your planning committees, your town planning committees, these are the problem. This is who you need to go after. That's who you can go after. That's who you can affect and change. And we're seeing it across the country. Go to precinctprojectusa.com. Used to be Precinct Strategy. Now they've graduated to another level of being able to really get people directly involved immediately with a much broader scope. Precinctprojectusa.com. And with that, I am going to move on to just mention my sponsor and say thank you. If you found that this video is helpful and you find what I'm doing here is valuable, I ask, could you please support the channel, but please do like and subscribe. And share the videos. Massive shadow banning here ever since I got back up a couple years ago, trying to break through it. And Rumble is as bad as all of them from what I can tell. So again, and please support the channel if you can, join monthly. It would help me so much because this is a shoestring budget. And it's why I can't do videos every day. I would if I could get the support. But I also have a fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Again, this is the incredible carbon 60 molecule that they call ESS 60 because it is 99.999% pure, made in an incredible reactor that literally mimics the action of the sun to create fullerenes. And these fullerenes are the ones that are super pure to get into your mitochondria and keep your cells clean and healthy by taking the garbage out using your hormones, your glutathione, your melatonin, which do that anyway, but they are beleaguered in our, with the shed and the spread and the spray. People are going through this crazy climate assault flu right now, really sick, and people need to clean up their cells because this is where your cells, your mitochondria, if they are healthy, disease cannot take root, and you can fight off immediate bioweapon barrages much more easily with healthy cells. And people use this for fighting the big C, all the turbo crap since the bioweapons, et cetera, et cetera. So check it out, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Anyone who contributes to the channel gets 15% off, different code and link sent to you. And so that's fantastic. And I'm going to be having Patty back up on the channel in a while. People have been missing her. It's been a long while since she's been up. She's going to tell you some really cool stuff that's going on with the company and with her healing herself from one of these sort of climate assault flus. And also, I have another great interview coming up this week as well. I think you'll really enjoy. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful and kind of broaden the understanding here of where we're at. And the prayers need to be that God stop the false flags, that the information, we're also hearing, I will say this, we're also hearing, of course, John Solomon, anyway, yet another FBI and intelligence weaponized investigation is about to break. This gets beyond Arctic frost and all the others, about specifically creating criminal investigations into Americans, to do with anyone promoting the Trump administration, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess getting into more hairy and very vile things, that's about to come out as well. And that's going to be DNI Gabbard. What Solomon is saying is that Gabbard, and also he's saying that Ratcliffe out of CIA, is supposedly fighting the CIA massive infrastructure. You know, that'd be great, right? That'd be fantastic. But we know Gabbard is our person at DNI, and she is in charge of DNI, of all the other intelligence services, and she's fighting a massive uphill battle because we only have about 5% that they've been able to get rid of because of the SES, right? The Senior Executive Service. But we do have people like Hegseth, right? What did he do 2 weeks ago? He basically said we are decoupling from Harvard and other huge institutions that we usually have our senior executive military trainees come out of. And they come into the military and become instant officers and rise through the ranks really quickly. They're part of the senior executive deep state, right? These are the people with multiple pensions that do what they're told by the City of London and Cartel Babylon to destroy the infrastructure of the United States and use the military for weaponized attacks, according to what they're told to do, and to destabilize the military, as we've seen massively, of course, under Biden. However, what we're looking at here is basically Hegseth is saying we won't be allowing candidates out of Harvard, okay, that train at Harvard, to come and join the ranks of the officer class in the military. That's massive. Are you kidding me? That is massively huge. Massive, massive. And many other institutions as well. This is preventing the going forward of these people, these operatives, these deep state globalists promoted and funded. Okay, just like it was Soros, right? That funded. Oh no, it was out of Saudi Arabia, right? The former prince that Ben Salman had to defeat, that funded Barack Obama's education at Harvard, right? And we see this over and over, these creation of these people, whether it is Obama, Mamdani, all of it. So this is very exciting as well, this development of preventing the further pollution and control of the U.S. military by the deep state, educated ivory tower elite for the globalists. Okay, folks, we're going to leave it there. Again, thank you. Please support the channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you so much, and we're going after it, right? So pray, and I will see you tomorrow. You are free.